to Leanne's Spirit Stories. This is story number 4. Today we're going to talk about the Jordan House. It's in West Des Moines, Iowa. It is a Victorian home of Italian Gothic design. I don't know what that all means, but it sounded cool. I've actually visited the house during a school trip with one of my sons. I believe it was the oldest, but I can't remember. Anyways, here's a surprise. The house is on the historical registry. Surprise. In 1973, it was inducted to the National Registry. It's also registered under the National Underground Railroad Network Freedom Program. That is a mouthful, but that is what it is. So the Jordan House was built by one of our first settlers, James C. Jordan. He handpicked this land because of the ancient oak and walnut and hickory trees. Plus, it was by the river, so he kind of liked that too. The first shelter on the land was actually a lean-to tent. Not sure where that is. I should probably look that up, but it's a tent. So in 1948, the tent was replaced by a log cabin. And then in 1950, James and his wife Melinda started working on the first phase of the Jordan House. This kind of floors me that there were phases in this house, because it's a 3-story, I believe, but it's no bigger than any other house I've seen built, other than, it's a Victorian, but I don't know, it just didn't make sense. It takes so long to build a house. So anyways, the Jordan home, like I said, was being built with James and Melinda. Melinda and him had 5 kids. Benjamin, Emily, Henry, John, and George. They all lived in the basement of the house while the main floor was being built. They had a kitchen, they had like a living, eating area, and one bedroom for all of them. I couldn't do it. No way. Not that many people. Anyways, so why they were doing that. So this area was on the way of the Underground Railroad. So James Jordan was a huge advocate for not having slaves, and freeing the slaves. Him and another gentleman by the name of John Brown, got together, and John basically got the slaves to the underground, to the Jordan House, and on the land they had barns and buildings and different things, and they would hide out there. Now, here's the thing that makes me go, On the tour, they say that there is spirits of slaves still down in the basement. I don't understand why they say that, because every story I read, the slaves were never in the house. That was their family home, and they didn't want that. They had all the room, buildings, outhouses, whatever outside for these slaves to hide. So I don't understand where they get that there's spirits still there of the slaves. So I'm still a little questioning on that. So Jordan became what they called Uncle Jimmy's house. Uncle Jimmy's house, he was considered the chief conductor. He ran the show. When they got there, they had food, they had a place to stay, safe, and then they would go to whatever their next stop was. So they were big into that and getting freedom for those people. So if you ever look up that. But when Melinda was 35. She passed away. Now, I have searched and looked and searched. I can't find out why she died or what she died of, which I thought was kind of odd. So another story came out that they had a young daughter die. James and Melinda. The only daughter they had was Emily. Emily lived several years. But shortly after Melinda died, James met his second wife, Cynthia Adams Jordan. Now, they had kids together. They had a Ella, it's either Ava or Eva, Calvin, and Edward, which is kind of weird because they were all E's until that Calvin. Anyways, so stories saying that the original owners had a daughter die in the house, sliding down the railing, broke her neck, died instantly. That's not true. I went back through the grave markings and everything, and the only child that is not documented of when she was born, but she died 1893, was Ida, and Ida was Cynthia's kid, not Melinda's. So that's where they think the spirit of the little girl's coming from, is Ida. Ida likes to play around in the house. Ida stayed there. She was 3 years old when she passed away. So, but here's the thing. This whole thing is just so odd, because when I remember going on the tour, I didn't feel anything, but the tours are very adamant about the spirits of slaves and the spirit of this little girl. However, it's not documented. Nothing is documented on the slaves, or, I mean, I suppose back in that day they didn't do that because of their safety. But this little girl, this was not Melinda's child. This was Cynthia's child. And it's also weird that Eda's, or Edda's, EDA, birth is not recorded. There's nothing saying when she was born, because I was trying to figure out who the 3-year-old was, because that story is constantly there, 3 years old. So I don't know. I would like to go back and visit the house at some point, because it was cool. I do remember, I mean, my son's 23, so it was the older one. It's been a while. Because I'm not understanding why they're saying slaves died in the house when James and Melinda, or Cynthia, were very adamant that their family home was their family home. So I don't know. It's kind of a weird situation. Why wasn't it documented that it was Ida that died when they're trying to say it was Emily, which was Melinda's kid? I don't know. I would like to go back and reinvestigate that, because there's not anything hardly online. The website, the Jordan House website, it doesn't give much detail on the spirits at all, actually. And then mostly what I found was buried. So I had to find who died, how old the kid was. I still have a hard time believing about the slaves' spirits being there in the house, just for the fact they were never in there, according to the backstory of this. So if you have any information about the Jordan house, I would love to see it. I will also maybe do a part 2 of this, just so I can maybe at some point go visit the house. So, because they do tours and everything. But that's all I've got for today. hopefully maybe someday COVID will let me go visit some of these places again. Bring back a part 2. You have a good day, stay safe, and thanks for listening. Bye.